What is up guys, welcome to the video and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to get your track set up in Logic and also how to get the mixer window working and so you can use it properly and effectively. I'm also going to be showing you how to use buses so you can save space on your CPU so it won't crash as easily, and also to speed up your workflow. Just a quick announcement before we start the video. I've got obviously a t-shirt here with my logo on it, I guess you could call it merch, but my 50th subscriber is going to be getting a free t-shirt from me. So to make that happen, all you got to do is share the video and subscribe. Alright, with that said, let's get into the video. So when you first open up the mixer, I've put it on the full screen so you can really see what I'm doing. You're going to see probably only 3 tracks. So the first instrument track it told you to make, the stereo out and the master. The first thing that I do is I know that I'm going to be using drums in every song, so I would make about 5 drum tracks, one for the kick, snare, hi-hats. I usually put like bells to pan one side, so that's 4, and then like an extra, so perk or a crash or something. So yeah, let's just make 5. So here are my 4 drum tracks, all the same, and you can EQ them and pan them or whatever. I make a drum bus, so what I'm going to do is, and I don't use the bus to send it to a bus here to route back into the track to make effects. I put them outputting through the bus, so the bus is almost like an extra master just for those 5 drum tracks or 7 or what I need. Let's just use bus 1. Here it's come out. I'll rename this drum bus. Here where it says output, I'm going to put it all the drums output bus 1. So if we highlight all of them, and they're all outputting through here into the stereo out. So once I've mixed all the drums against each other, if I drag this down by 4 dB, all of the drums will come down by 4 dB relative to the other instruments I've got going on. And then here what I usually do is I'll put some effects on it. So for drums I usually use this graphic EQ. I'll put some effects, drag it down, see what sounds good and all that. That's pretty much the drums. All I've got to go and do is make them. Yeah, that's how I set up the drums. So that's pretty much the everything that I set up every time I'm going to make a track, because obviously I always use drums and stuff. But if we make a couple more MIDI tracks here in Send, and this is what I was talking about by saving CPU space, you can put stuff like EQ and reverb on here, and I wouldn't recommend sending EQ to a bus because you want it kind of personalized for each sound. I would put its own individual EQ, do whatever I need to do. But if I think I'm going to be using the same kind of reverb on maybe 2 or 3 different tracks, I'd send it here. So notice how in the drums I went to outputs. Here I'm going to go to send and then send it to bus 2. Then here it creates your second bus, and I'll put room reverb, and this creates like an output, but instead of going through the drum tracks, through the output and all its effects and out here, it sends it, it's a bit confusing, but it sends it to here, from the send to the bus and all its effects, and then back in to this channel strip, which obviously is then put out by the stereo out, and that's what you're going to hear when you play your track all together. So here you can just put normal effects in the inserts, do a bit of this, and notice how it's got 0 dry automatically and 100% wet, as if I put the same thing on a stereo, it comes out of 100 dry. That's because when you're sending it through, you only want the wet signal, because you've got the dry coming through here and then the wet coming through here, linking back and mixing into the original track. You want to keep it at 100, because on normal stereo tracks you balance out the volumes by dragging this down to whatever % you want. But on here, You can either just do it by this knob here, or to make it a bit more, cool, I think I click up here, sends on faders, selects the one I want. Obviously in this case it's only one, but when I'm making a hot track there might be like 10. So I select the one I want to control the room reverb, and if I just want like a little bit, drag it to 15 or something, and then I'll see how that sounds, and that'll do. One last but quite important point is that this whole mixer here kind of emulates one of those big desks that they have in studios. It's like 200 channels long with all the knobs at the top and the faders, and then that will go off to an effects rack on the side and all that. This just is like a digital computer emulation of that. So obviously the faders, you've got the pans, and imagine you could change these into knobs, I guess. But that means that the signal is going to be coming in from the top and then down to the bottom and then out into here. So if I create an audio track, you'll see here it'll be coming in. So if I did plug in a mic, this would be like the gain. It would be coming in from the mic to the top here, down through, if you can't put MIDI effects on it, but it would be coming down through to my first audio effect, and then the second, then the third, then my send, then my output. That output would then go to either the stereo out or whatever bus I have, and then you'd go to panning, and then lastly the fader. So that means, and I didn't really notice it at first, but it does mean that it does matter what order you put your audio effects in. So if I am going to put a gain on it, I'll make sure that I put it on first, so that it sets the level for every audio effect after. Because if you put it in last, it'll be the same volume, but the quality of the sound might sound different. So then I'll go in, maybe do a bit of EQing, whatever. So the sound that if I think it's too muddy, I'll take out some of the lows, and then I might put it into a compressor. And the reason why I do EQ second is because I don't want all the muddy sounds being compressed and brought through, only then to cut them out. So that's why I do that. Then signals coming through here, through 1, 2, 3, I can do all this, do all the panning, go out into the stereo out here, and then out to your speakers or headphones or whatever you got. So what I've got pulled up here is a song I made a couple of days ago. I'll play the track for a bit and then I'll talk you through what's going on. As I said before, I've got, all my audio tracks here, and then these 3 tracks are my buses. I've got a drum bus going and 2 reverbs. So one's an output bus and 2 are effects buses. And then obviously I've got the stereo mastering out. Here I like to kind of color the bottom of my tracks so I know which groups things are in. So here are the main, here's the main intro bits in blue. These yellow things, the main melodies. Drums are red, this is an extra, and these are 2, again, extra effects. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through what's going on here. I just played the track again, the first intro bit. As you can see, I'm obviously doing the looping and, seeing where everything's at on this screen, but obviously I like seeing all my effects on this screen. So I'll play you this. And here we've got the low pass track going on and all the drums coming out of the drum bus, and I put a bit of reverb on the kick and the snare to give it a bit more not as electronic feel. And the way I did that, I created a bus that's got a reverb on it, sent the kick and the snare to the bus, and then at different levels to make it sound decent. So if I muted that, you might be able to hear on the snare particularly. There's a change. So yeah, that's how I use the effects bus. On the drums, this is another thing about output buses. If you solo it, it'll solo everything that's rooted to that. So if I just wanted to listen to the drums for a bit, I can solo that. And here, obviously, I put the output all bus 1, got them kind of feeling good. I can see how they are relative to the rest of the tracks. I think, so if I'm thinking, in the track, the drums are too loud, I'll just drag them down by a bit. So that's how I use the output. Yeah, I hope you found this helpful, and obviously I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed and you do like my content, please subscribe and drop a like on this video. Alright, see ya.